should call you? I know
Uh,
sometimes you guys don't have like specific titles, but what's the best?
Basically, I'm the content director. So we have the website, which we do at least one story a day, and then we have the
Podcast.
2 podcasts. So we have the live show on Tuesday nights, and they have March to Match Day, which is what I host, which is just basically a 15 to 20-minute show dedicated to the opponent.
Okay, cool. Because I know your Twitter said host, but I know you also do stuff with the website, so I wanted to make sure I didn't.
Basically, Nick's like the main guy, but he basically is just the guy who knows how to run all the video and everything, whereas I coordinate all the topics and everything.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're live, Jack? Oh, yeah, we are. Okay. So I will bring us live for real in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Point to the Spot, a U.S.-based podcast focused on the world of football. And again, today we will be focused on the world of football in our own backyard. Now, I know you all enjoyed James Comey's testimony today, but who we all have been really looking forward to hearing from is instead Mr. Brian Weigel of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, a Cincinnati-based website /podcast/media group dedicated to FC Cincinnati and soccer in the Queen City. We are very happy to have him with us tonight to talk all things MLS expansion in Cincinnati and FC Cincinnati, and really anything related to that will be up for talking about. So, Brian, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, but I got to give you guys credit, man, bringing me on in the hot and heavy time for FC Cincinnati when it comes to MLS, because the next 8 days is really going to be it for FC Cincinnati in terms of how much we can really market ourselves for MLS.
Well, we were actually, Jack and I were talking about that before we came live, and I know we have some questions related to that. But starting off, kind of just want to start generally, just pitch our listeners who may not be familiar with FC Cincinnati or less familiar. Why should MLS expansion be coming to your city? Well, or why does the club say it should be coming to their city?
Well, this is a pretty lengthy discussion here, but I'll start off with, do you like seeing 30,000 fans in stadiums on TV? I think it looks better. I think it represents the game in the United States a little better. So that's my first point. But this is just a city on the rise, a huge rebirth, kind of the Portland, the Seattle, I guess, of the Midwest right now. One of the fastest growing cities. And, I think the younger demographic that's trending towards downtown Cincinnati especially is really kind of helped the birth of FC Cincinnati over the past year and a half. Of course, you can't do anything without the fans, but you also can't do anything without an owner. And Carl Lindner III is worth over $2 million. Our ownership group. When you talk about the other people involved, it takes that number well north of $3 billion. So we got a lot of support with the fans, with the ownership, and then we have, I think it's 10 Fortune 500 companies in city Cincinnati. So we really hit every box when it comes to the support factor of FC Cincinnati. So it really is, I think, going to be a well-based, really well-supported club when it does get to MLS. And I believe it will get there sooner than later.
And you kind of mentioned it there just before you got into that. It's a crazy time to be an FC Cincinnati plan. Come the 12th, Monday, they're supposed to be unveiling what their SSS there in Cincinnati would be looking like for the team. What's the atmosphere around? The bids have been in for months now. You all have been playing in Nippert, and you have done really well to sell it out. I mean, it's not the most ideal soccer venue, but it has actually been very serviceable, and I bet games are really fun to take in there. How excited are you to see the renderings of the soccer-specific stadium?
Well, let's start with Nippert there real quick, and then we'll transition. But Nippert is a fantastic facility, state-of-the-art. University of Cincinnati put in $85 million to make it an amazing facility. You go there to watch a game. It's better atmosphere than like Crew Stadium. I've been to countless Crew matches, and it's louder, it's more intimate, and it's just a great time. We've been blessed with that situation. But MLS, as you know, doesn't want their clubs to be second tenants in a facility. So when it comes to Monday, It's going to be a really exciting evening. They're going to announce 3 different stadium renderings for the 3 different stadium sites that they're trying to push FC Cincinnati towards. One is in Newport, Kentucky, which is going to be interesting. There's actually a pretty clear spot already, a land ready, shovel ready, which is pretty attractive. FC Cincinnati, it overlooks the city, but of course it's kind of a New York Red Bulls scenario where you're playing in another state. So that's an interesting portion. The other part's in Oakley, which is a little bit more further north of the city still, I guess technically in Cincinnati proper, but it's kind of closer to the main season ticket holder demographic. And then I don't know if you guys know much about Cincinnati, but there's an area called Over the Rhine. It's a German it's kind of where the old German population in the city of Cincinnati moved back in the early 1900s, and it's experienced an amazing renaissance. And this would be, to me, my preferred site, which would be right in the urban core of Cincinnati, right in the new hip part of town, and would really, I think, be just an amazing venue, one of the best locations at all of soccer stadiums in the United States. So it's going to be a pretty interesting topic. The one thing you'll know is it's going to be $170 million to $200 million stadium, so it's not going to be cheap whether they do it. So I think that the venue's going to turn some heads when people see it on Monday.
And I mean, you spoke on it being in the kind of happening part of the city. One of the things that is a big draw for soccer-specific stadiums and supporters culture around the country. I mean, we see it in Houston, Portland, obviously. What's it like getting around the city of Cincinnati? Is public transit good? Will it be easily accessible for anybody within the greater city to get to?
Well, that's definitely one of the perks right now for Nippert is it's really easy to get to right, a mile off of 2 of the biggest interstates in the area. These 3 locations all have their negatives, all have their positives. The Over the Rhine location would be really close to the brand new streetcar, which, of course, if you're from Portland or Seattle, mass transit's a big thing. And I think that'd be really nice. I'm not sure if it would tap into a major demographic of people that actually live in that area, but it'd definitely be get around the bars, get parking, make parking a little bit easier. But yeah, I think that's, mass transit in general, I think in the city of Cincinnati is not too crazy because it's pretty easy to get around. But so I think that's definitely going to be an issue though when it comes up for all 3 of the sites. You there?
I think we lost Andrew's audio.
Oh no.
That's no good. It'll be fine. We'll fix it in post-production.
Yeah, I'm used to that.
Beauty of not having the live show.
Oh, do you guys do a live show?
We do not presently. We would love to. The issue that we come across a lot of the time is that we're actually all in several different parts of the country currently. Mm-hmm. So Andrew and I are both students at the University of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But he is he's interning in Washington right now. So he's in DC.
Wow.
My buddy Reed is in Andrew, you're back.
Am I back? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Reed lives in Milwaukee, and then I'm still here in Madison for the summer. So
how far is that from Green Bay?
Madison's a good 2 hours and
2 hours or so.
Yeah.
I sell for a company that's based in Green Bay, so I get up to Wisconsin a couple times a year.
Oh, okay. What company?
They're a machine shop. It's called Velocity Machine. I actually work in manufacturing, believe it or not. So.
Oh, nice. Cool. Well, now that Andrew's back, I'm sure he had something to ask you about.
Yeah. So now I guess this is all that we'll edit out when we Jack or I don't know which one.
Did it not come through on your end?
No, I don't know. So for some reason my mic's been going in and out tonight. I think it's my computer being weird, but anyway, hopefully we're good now. So my question was, I've said before that I think if knowing what we know now, we could go back and redo kind of laying out MLS, we would put a team in Cincinnati and not Columbus. But obviously there's a team in Columbus. So do you think that the state of Ohio is big enough for 2 MLS teams, especially given, the 2 cities are not super close, and also Cincinnati has the benefit of having some reach into Kentucky and Indiana, which are not MLS states at the moment. Do you think that it would work out? Do you think there could be potentially even, I mean, given the U.S. Open Cup tie coming this week, it looks like there's already a rivalry. Do you think that would explode if Cincinnati went MLS?
Well, there's several close MLS rivals, especially with Indianapolis right there. That's about 2.5 hours from Columbus. Cincinnati is about 2 hours from Columbus. And then you have Louisville, which is probably about 3 hours from Columbus. So there's three different people that are fairly close to a current MLS market, which I think MLS would probably like that. If you paid attention to anything this week with the U.S. Open Cup with Columbus and Cincinnati, this is going to be the largest traveling away match for Columbus in their 20-year history, maybe outside the MLS Championship. They have almost 1,100 tickets sold to the away supporter section for this Wednesday's match. So I think that's a great selling force to MLS, because you're going to be able to reinvigorate another fan base, maybe build a Midwest Cascadia Cup with FC Cincinnati and Columbus. It's Columbus's main rivals. What, Toronto? Is that really a rivalry? It's manufactured. Whereas you see that Cincinnati, people are hyped about this, and I don't want to bang on Columbus very much, because I call myself a retired Columbus Crew fan, because I really did enjoy them. I followed them hardcore. Now, did I go out and stuff my closet with gold and black like I do with orange and blue right now? Absolutely not. But I think you're going to see that this could help both clubs. As I said, FC Cincinnati averages almost 20,000 fans a match. Columbus averages 13,000, 14,000 fans a match. So anything you can do to get a current MLS fan base jacked up and excited, I think could be best overall for the league. And especially, people say Cincinnati's, and maybe there should only be one team in Ohio. Cincinnati is, if you're down here, is clearly a different demographic, a different area than Columbus. I mean, nothing really north of Dayton impacts Cincinnati at all. And so we really even don't follow Ohio State football that much. So that's a anything. So people also call Cincinnati one of the smallest markets in the MLS picture. If you add Dayton, which is 30 minutes north, it's pretty much the suburb of Cincinnati. We become the 17th biggest market in the country. So I think it's a ridiculous argument when people say we're the smallest, because I can't tell you how many people come down to games from Dayton. I live 25, 30 minutes north of the city, and my brother's another 10 plus on that, and we go to every game. So I don't think that's going to stop anybody from Dayton driving down.
Well, this could be pure conjecture, but if memory serves, Cincinnati/Dayton has some of the higher TV ratings for U.S. men's national team games in the country.
I can't speak to that specifically. I know for several matches there has been, especially the women's games. We have Rose Lavelle, who scored a goal today for the U.S. women's national team. She's been on our podcast, on our live show. She's great Cincinnatian. There's 50,000 youth playing in the area of the greater metro Cincinnati area. That's one of the largest markets in the actual country in terms of youth. My buddy actually runs the development academy system for the United States, and he raves about the city of Cincinnati all the time. And so I think it's going to be a special area that's going to be able to really grow with the sport.
We are, as two proud Badgers, we also love Rose Lavelle. So
yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
This might be a bit of a hot take and a little bit of a tangent. Rose Lavelle is the best women's player in the world right now. She is insane.
That might be a bit of a hot take.
She's not afraid to try stuff.
She goes for anything.
Yeah, she's honestly, she's a great person as well. Was a hysterical interview. If you can, go check out our podcast on that. She's definitely worth the time. She started out a little bit unsure, but she really warmed up, and it was a great interview.
That's good.
We will put that in the show notes.
Transitioning back to Cincinnati, of course, you talked about it. Dayton is close by. And you talked about it a little bit earlier on when we were first kind of introing the bid, the ownership group. We recently spoke with somebody from MLS in San Antonio, and something that they emphasized was that Spurs Sports and Entertainment as an ownership group has been terrific, very responsive to the fans. What has it been like you guys? I mean, the reason that FC Cincinnati and Cincinnati is something is that they came into USL and were instantly one of the most popular teams, highest attendance, were competitive. How responsive is the ownership group to use the fans to, being open to ideas? I mean, obviously everybody would love a safe standing section in their stadium. Like, how much can you guys as the fans get across to the ownership group about what you want from the club?
Well, I'm going to say this. Columbus actually stole an idea from us in this instance. We actually formed a supporters council before they did. So we have about 35 to 40 supporters each year. It goes to a nomination system. You have to have your fellow supporters nominate them to get on this board. And it's extremely receptive to the club. You have, of course, you had in San Antonio, or have the sports ownership, or the ownership group that owns the Spurs. Well, Carl Lindner III, his family owned the Reds for 20 years. So it's not like he's coming out of left field. The GM was second in command of the Cincinnati Bengals for 15 years. The head ticket sales guy ran all of ticketing for the University of Cincinnati basketball and football for 15 years. So you have people that are integrated into the community already. So you're really not starting from scratch. And that's been something that's been really well. Jeff Birding, the GM, is also a part owner. He was the president of the largest youth soccer club in the city. So we have all these, great, the club's really woven into everything around the city. I think the ownership group is second to none in all of the ownership groups out there. I mean, your minority owner is Scott Farmer, who owns Cintas. There's a rumor that the Reds ownership group is going to be jumping in, and that could be huge. You also have heavy involvement with a group in the city called 3CDC. It's a development group that's pretty much single-handedly turned around the city of Cincinnati. So there's a lot of really good vibes. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm just bragging here, but Jeff Birding's done his homework. He's the GM and president, and it's really tough to really combat all the negatives people say out there, because he's built a case to be successful, and you've seen it, on and off the field in the community. I mean, there's not another USL team that gets this much press in all the entire league, or most MLS teams. I mean, there's media there every day. I mean, it's really it's crazy, and it's just because people believe in our ownership group that they're not going to back down even if this fails. So,
I mean, A, we love when people brag because we like to hear all the details. B, I mean, you can tell how much this ownership group cares. I mean, the hand delivered the bid and the details of the bid to the MLS offices in New York. So that definitely shows through. And you touched on it there briefly, the Reds ownership group interested in getting in. Of course, Cincinnati does have two other major sports franchises with the Reds and the Bengals. Is that something that you are concerned about, or other people are concerned about, in drawing people to games and competing with those other markets?
I think you always will for the casual fan, but I think the diehard, it's a different demographic. Cincinnati's a large city, and Cincinnati Reds probably draw in from the region a lot more so than FC Cincinnati does currently. I think that would change, but it really doesn't, really doesn't scare me too much. When you go to Reds games, it's a lot more older demographic. Maybe grandparents bringing their grandkids, whereas, I mean, young professionals dominate FC Cincinnati. Young families dominate FC Cincinnati. So it's been pretty interesting. So I'm not too scared. Now, will that change if the price point goes up with MLS? Yeah, it could. If people have to start paying $30 a ticket versus 15 or 20, yeah. But you can't really build a fan base without getting them involved first.
So I have a question that's kind of maybe more tangentially related, but it's very related to Cincinnati, especially recently. Big news coming down this past week that Valencia will be coming to town for a friendly with FC Cincinnati. And I think a lot of people at like the MLS level kind of roll their eyes at these friendlies because they're kind of, it's the summer, it's the preseason. They're not going to play their stars. But so I want to hear your take on this. Do you think this is a big deal? Is it kind of meant to me?
Did you lose him too?
Yep.
Lost you there, pal.
I'm sorry we're having so many issues with the audio here.
No, don't worry about it. Honestly, I had who was I talking to? The St. Louis guy. It was like the day after their vote, and I had to have him on my show because we were previewing FC Cincinnati versus St. Louis FC, and I didn't know it, but one of my audio cords was like broken.
Oh.
So like it kept doing the exact same thing. So I went out and replaced all my cords, and it's been amazing. But it happens, man. Especially when you have a live show, it'll drive you back crazy.
Oh yeah, I bet. We have the.
You there, Andrew?
Am I back?
Yeah,
yep, you're back.
Okay.
So I heard.
Bad. Sorry, guys.
I basically heard Valencia, and you want me to give my take on it? I can give you a good take.
Yeah, why don't we just go from there? We don't need to. I think our listeners want to hear more of you talking than me talking, so we'll just go from there.
Well, I won't try to drone on about this. I feel like that's all I've been doing. I must like you guys because I'm skipping a U.S. men's national team game for this.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I forgot about that game when I was looking at scheduling the show.
Well, so yeah, if people haven't known this yet, FC Cincinnati drew over 35,000 fans for FC Cincinnati versus Crystal Palace in 2016. It was a great event. The city was enthralled by it. I think it really kind of set FC Cincinnati onto a different stratosphere. Of course, that was on a Saturday. It was like 82 degrees, just beautiful day. Perfect.
Facebook Live did too, right?
Yeah. I mean, they say they had 1 million views on Facebook Live, which I thought was crazy. But hey, if they have that metric, great for them. But Valencia, I think, was received by the diehard soccer fans is 10 times better than Crystal Palace. I mean, this is a team that was in 2 Champions League finals over the 15 years ago, so they're a pretty quality club. But it's going to be on a Monday night, and we have 3 games that week, so we'll have a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get 35,000 with just the cluster of games that tends to hurt you. But I still think it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be played up pretty well. I still think they'll get over 25,000 for the match, which is significantly better than most MLS clubs do. And this is also the match where the price point will test fans. It's not the same $10, $12 tickets. So that's of course the $10 and $12 tickets, a small portion of the stadium. But I think it'll give FC Cincinnati a challenge to sell to. But yeah, it's anytime you can get a top 4 league opponent when you're the second or last year third tier of United States soccer, I think is going to be a positive.
Definitely will be cool. We live a lot in the world of England, so I think it would be. It's always fun to see. I know other teams in the USL, Richmond Kickers, have done this in the past. Sacramento has played teams from overseas, and generally the turnout's pretty well. The
problem with this match, and people are going to go crazy about this, is that FC Cincinnati had a friendly opponent already scheduled, and they had to back out. So FC Cincinnati was pretty much up against the wall. I think I can probably say this. It was Man City. So, yeah. So it was a big deal for FC Cincinnati. I think they pretty much had everything agreed to, and they decided to change their minds at the last second and go to Asia. So I think, being able to scramble with Valencia, if you could say that's your scramble, your backup plan, I think that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, just continues to go to show how highly people, not even within the United States, but from overseas, consider the club, which has got to be encouraging. Transitioning just a little bit away from MLS now, because obviously, one of the most fun things about jumping up to the next level, being MLS, is getting to see some of those guys who were on the team and get to stick around and have their shot at the MLS team. Cinci is currently in 7th in the USL in the Eastern Conference. They're in that playoff spot. Not the greatest run of form, only 2 wins in the last 5. Is there anybody on the roster now who, let's say they make the jump to the league sometime in the next couple of seasons? Is there anybody that really stands out that you think could make it as an MLS player?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think if they went, in 2018, I think there could be. I think if you say 2020, I think it's a little bit more of a stretch. We have a really young kid by the name of Marco Dominguez, who's a defensive midfielder, came over from the from Montreal Impact. He played for FC Montreal last season. He's got, I think, a bright future ahead of him. We have a controversial forward, I guess you could say, in GB Fall, who was allegedly, there's no proof out there. There's no proof at all that he bit the guy for Louisville City FC, but I think he's pretty good. I just think he's kind of 30, 31 years old, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to last. There's been some rumors that he might be headed to LA Galaxy. I think those are probably squashed by now, considering that was like the day before he bit the guy or allegedly bit the guy. So, yeah, I mean, Austin Berry's our captain. He was MLS Rookie of the Year. You have Corbin Bone, who is also a quality player in MLS. So there's definitely quite a bit of talent. When you talk about our form, we got ravaged by injuries and loss of player early on in the season. Omar Cummings, who you may have heard, he's still not 100% from the injury he had last year. I think Austin Berry picked up a knock early on in the season. And then you missed Kenny Walker, who's kind of one of our core central midfielders. So I think there's going to be a lot more coming for FC Cincinnati. I think they're playing better. I think you said 2 out of 5, and that doesn't count the 2 wins they had in Open Cup. So they had played significantly better, and I think they're going to be doing better. They lost this weekend in Rochester, but they ran out pretty much a B squad, if you could say that, and they gave Rochester, who's arguably one of the best teams in the USL, a pretty tough haul on the road.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Austin Berry, former MLS Rookie of the Year with the Fire, right?
I think that's right.
That jumps to mind. Being a Fire fan myself. Well, Brian, that's all we have for you in terms of questions. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with about FC Cincinnati, things they should check out, where they can find you guys on social media, online, to make sure to check out Cincinnati Soccer Talk?
Yeah, man, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We try to be a blog. We try to be a live show on Tuesday nights that covers the team. We try to give as much information about the team as we can. We're not an aggregator. We try to generate content. So if you go there, it might not be a rehashing of everything that's gone on during the week. It's probably going to try to be some more interviews, trying to generate new topics for FC Cincinnati. We have a great YouTube page that's we just started this year, and we have a huge feature coming up that you'll like on youtube.com/Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It'll drop, I think, right before the Columbus game. Should be pretty exciting. Don't want to give away too many details, but that would be pretty cool. And yeah, we're real excited. It's going to be a big week. If FC Cincinnati can go defeat Charlotte this weekend, beat or hopefully give Columbus Crew a good run, and then of course play Charleston Battery on the following weekend. And if we can get some good results there, I think you're going to see a pretty rejuvenated FC Cincinnati side with confidence, and one that could still, I believe, win the league. We've added 2-3 new players. They just started getting on the field now, and it's going to be, I think, still pretty exciting year for FC Cincinnati.
Awesome. And of course, they can check you guys out on social media, right? Twitter, Facebook?
Yeah. At Cinci, CINCY, Soccer Talk, and then Facebook.com/Cincinnati Soccer Talk. For some darn reason, Cincinnati is just too many darn letters on Twitter.
We feel the pain on that. Well, Brian, thank you very much for joining the show. It was really great to have you on and talk FC Cincinnati. Of course, best of luck to you and the rest of your supporters on the potential MLS bid. For now, guys, that's all the time that we had. Thank you all very much for listening. If you feel like checking out Point to the Spot on Twitter, of course, you can find it at Point to the Spot with the number 2. Until next time, though, take care.